Well, I'm happy to present my 15 millimeter First Crusade armies. You know, the First Crusade was about 1096 to about 1099. It was really the first of a series of religious wars that initiated, supported, and at times was directed by the Latin Church in the medieval period. You know, the initial objectives was the recovery of the Holy Land from Islamic rules. These campaigns were subsequently given the name Crusades. But the earliest initiative for the First Crusade began in about 1095 when the Byzantine Emperor Alexis Komnenos requested military support from the Council of Piacenza in the Byzantine Empire's conflict with the Seljuk-led Turks. This was followed later in the year by the Council of Clermont, which Pope Urban II supported the Byzantine request for military assistance and also urged faithful Christians to undertake an armed pilgrimage to Jerusalem. You know, the Crusades was extremely popular. There was two Crusades. One was the People's Crusades. That was led by Peter the Hermit. That came to a disaster and was entirely wiped out by the Seljuk Turks. And then the next one was the Prince's Crusade. Probably had close to about 100,000 troops coming from all over Western Europe. And that was more successful, if you can call it successful, creating 4 Crusader kingdom states and eventually taking Jerusalem. It really established the Christian European nations in the Middle East all the way up until about 1291. Well, here's the First Crusade army laid out on the table. Remarkably, the figures for the First Crusade, or the look of the army, needs to be very Norman-esque. It was the kite shield, chainmail. I'm not even sure with my historical accounts that they actually painted their shields with crosses, but kept the shields from their home country. I'm guessing. But I used 2 dragon figures. I think they're absolutely stunning. They paint up great, have great poses and animation, a little bit more variety than some of the others. I also used a mix of museum miniatures, all 15 naturally. That's what I do. But I really think that the color scheme was just taking what I could see from southern Italy, Normandy, England, some of the other crusading nations, and just kind of melding it into what I thought a First Crusade army would look like. The figures are painted up, very, very bright. I mean, the 2 dragon figures are just fantastic, really, really lovely, easy to paint up. I've got a couple of Essex in here that I use once in a while for light troops on the side. But in general, I think the army turned out looking the way that I wanted it to look. I probably could have thrown in a few extra looking Crusader crosses and the rest, but I kind of reserved that more for Kingdom of Jerusalem and the 3rd, 4th, 5th Crusades. I wanted them to look remarkably different in their presentation. And this is when I'm looking at manuscripts or the books that I have, this is exactly what is shown. Now, if somebody knows something more than I do, then please let me know and maybe I'll repaint it. But I tried to keep the ground very neutral, desert-oriented. Probably should add a few tufts and some other things to give it a little bit of a pop, but I kept it very arid and dry without making it look too Western European. I like the command stands. I found some extra monks and used some different figures. These are older figures that I had with crossbow. Those are, of course, not 2 Dragon, but other companies that made crossbows. Anyway, I hope that you like the way that the army looks. It's a little bit shorter than what I normally do, but I think you got a chance to see what a First Crusade army would have looked like. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Next up is the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem.